Daniel says, for a person who has never had dogs before, uh, when are you ready for a Corso? Do you need big dog experience prior to owning one like a Roddy? That would help a lot. I always say like, hey, the more experience, the better. That's what most things, but especially having big dog experience. The breed itself is very different, right? Similar to other dogs, but once you start doing more research on Cane Corsos and interacting with them, or you own one, you'll have a baseline of where you can see where where they may be like other dogs, but they definitely are on a different path. And as far as just owning a big dog, we're talking 100 plus pounds. It does help because a lot of times they see big dogs and think, oh, I wouldn't want to get bit by that dog or anything like that. But owning a big dog, a lot of times the biggest risk, let's say, for injury isn't necessarily the bite, although they definitely could do damage there. It'd be like making sure that you have some boundaries in the house to where it's just like we don't allow let's say Duke to run it up here in this area, right? Because he come around the corner, the big dog, and runs into one of the kids or something like that. Or, somebody mentioned in the chat earlier had an issue with their 1 year old Corso lunging and things like that. If you're out and about, and I see a lot where uh, some kids in the neighborhood or some folks they're walking their dog, but they're on their phone and scrolling. And if you're caught off guard scrolling on your phone trying to walk a course or something like that, and that dog decides to go out and do his own thing, and they pull or they lunge, you're gonna be in for a bad day. You could get your shoulder pulled, you could get pulled down, and it's just stuff like that you got to be uh, made aware of. Jumping, right? You don't want to tolerate jumping, even when they're young. You want to nip that in the bud, so you don't have that when they get older. Um, because you don't want them to just jumping on people, right? Grandma comes over, hey Duke or whatever, and he jumps up on grandma or one of the kids. That's gonna be bad. So definitely having knowledge of owning a bigger dog, it would definitely help out. But as far as just like somebody who's never had a dog before, I wouldn't recommend, if you never had a dog, like period, like I said, some things, it's possible, right? You could go out, you can get a Corso, you can do all your research and things like that. But it's probably not the most optimal thing. And you're probably going to end up experiencing some of the hardships that you deal with, and that may push you towards tapping out, right? So a lot of Corsos end up in shelters. Some of them end up in, unfortunately, getting euthanized. That always sucks. Or people, they get them, they're trying to rehome them because they just can't deal with everything that they ended up dealing with, and they weren't necessarily prepared for it. So I always talk about how much of a huge commitment it is to own, a Cane Corso. It's just like with any other dog. It's going to be some things to change. It's another person, not person, but it's another entity in your family that you're responsible for. Um, Feeding, obviously, can be very expensive. Vet bills can be expensive, are expensive. Bigger the dog, bigger the bill, right? So it's just certain things like that. And just, I encourage people to do ample amount of research, whether you've owned big dogs or a Corso before. Uh, YouTube University, type in Cane Corso and just go down that rabbit hole. And just, if you're waiting on a pup, you got those 8 weeks you're waiting, or whatever, you're waiting for that litter to drop. Start doing your research then, and just make sure that you're prepared enough to take on the commitment it is on Cane Corso. So yeah.